Hello there and a very warm welcome to another edition of The Beam on Channels Television. I'm Victor Matthias. Now, Nigeria's unemployment rate increased to 33.3% in the fourth quarter of 2020 from 27.1% in the second quarter of 2020, and that's according to the Nigeria Bureau of Statistics. Now, this is as the coronavirus took its toll on the economy and every other sectors in the country. However, some, unbothered by their job losses, have gone on to create an alternative source of income, from digital marketing to coding, programming, and even the recently restricted Bitcoin trade. So today on the program, we will be looking at other digital ways people have been making a living from, and also take a look at how technology can be deployed to tackle the insecurity in the country. But let's first take a moment and see what made the social media trends in the past week.
Christians around the world celebrated Easter, which marks the resurrection of Jesus Christ, though many Easter Sunday services were scaled down due to the global COVID-19 pandemic. Social media afforded them the opportunity to mark the day. Pope Francis, in his Easter message, called on Christian faithful not to lose hope in the protracted coronavirus crisis. An Air Force fighter jet, which was declared missing, was found in a village close to the Borno state capital. Though an Islamist insurgent group had claimed responsibility for shooting it down, the Nigeria Air Force refuted the claim, maintaining that the video released by the group was deliberately doctored.
Well, there you go. Those were some of the trends in the past week, and you can also be a part of the conversation from wherever you're watching around the world. Just tweet at us at Channels TV, at ChannelsBeam, at Victor_MBIDI, and you can also use the hashtag ChannelsBeam. But joining us to look at today's topic, we have with us from my far right, Oluwafemi Oluwadare. He is a chartered accountant and a Forex trader with years of experience and has become an authority in building effective strategies and consistent winning in the Forex market. It's a pleasure to have you on the program.
Thank you, sir.
Of course. We also have Benneth Nwakocha. He is the Chief Instructor and Portfolio Manager at City Forex Trading Institute. He has over 11 years of institutional Forex trading and training experience. He consults for professional financial market analysis to both retail and institutional level traders. It's a pleasure to have you as well.
Yeah, it's a pleasure
to be on the program. So, I mean, it seems to be how would I put it now, like something not really usual. Forex trading is pretty much, something you don't really get to. But, I mean, give me a sense of what this thing looks like.
Okay, Forex trading, I like to, when I talk to my students, I tell them that it's as simple as, going to the bus stop, this regular allergy and wanting to buy maybe gold from them, right? This is the, as an analogy, this is just the manual way of trading Forex. Now, the actual Forex trading requires some form of digital technology. You need electronics. And all of these things have been put together in a centralized network where you do not have to go to the bus stop or have any physical contact with anybody. Just from the comfort of your home and your cell phone, you can buy gold, sell gold, and then if you make a good financial decision, you make some money.
Yeah, that's it. How do you make that good financial decision?
Yes, of course, it requires a lot of, training. Because that's some of the issues we have in this industry. Some people do not come in the right way, and then they get their fingers burnt, and then they blame it on the market itself. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that.
All right, so speaking about burnt fingers, let me bring you into the conversation. I mean, you see that some people invest, like companies actually, with certificates from SEC and all of that, but along the line, I mean, they close down, they shut down. Why do we have such stories?
Thank you for that question. I think my quick response to that is that, for one, having SEC certificate does not an absolute guarantee of competence. I mean, one shows up, he has a qualification, a paper certificate, applies to SEC, pays the normal fee, and probably SEC gives such an entity or individual an approval. But the real competence, does the person or the entity, does it really have it? Is it well grounded? If it does not, definitely it's going to close down. And that has actually happened in the financial industry.
Indeed, indeed. I mean, so how do you locate, how can you tell how do you tell a competent or, a competent financial institution, I mean, to trade with or to buy from?
Yeah, okay, to begin with, as my colleague has rightly pointed out, that SEC has given you a certificate doesn't guarantee that you are an expert or that you are doing the due diligence. Of having to make the investment and then generate a return on investment, right? So usually the best thing is there's supposed to be a three-man formation. It's supposed to be a tripartite system where the investor comes in and then makes that investment with the broker. And then if you are a competent, because what you can apply with the SEC is either a portfolio manager or a collective investment scheme to run most of these investment companies, right? So as a portfolio manager, your job is to render the expertise of trading and not to collect money from people to trade. It's not the same thing. A lot of Nigerians will just submit their hard-earned cash and then go home. Yes, and then there is no. The right thing to do is to make sure the person is registered with the broker as an expert, and then you give your money to the broker in this tripartite system. And then at the end of it, whether the trading section, month, year, whatever your agreement is, you get a profit share. And then the expert also gets a profit share. And then this is overseen by the broker, right? Because they are regulated and they are the right people who are supposed to, help people who don't have knowledge and wants to still benefit from the market, to do it the right way. Yeah.
Well, so I mean, this seems like either way is at the tail end of everything, everybody is happy, yeah? But how do you start? I mean, some people might think about this thing and they're thinking, how do I need a lot of money to be able to start my trade?
Well, talk about how much you need to start in the Forex market.
Yeah.
That question is different for different people. If you have a need of around 100,000 naira in a week, or let's say in a month, and you have a trading account that has 50,000 naira, that is going to force you to push for unrealistic profits. So, but usually the thing is, every trader is supposed to know what their expectancy is, meaning what you can generate at the end of the month when you trade. So if I can generate 10% at the end of each trading month, and I need 100,000 to take care of myself for that month, it means that my starting capital has to be a million naira. So that 10% will be 100,000. And that way, I'm not going to blow my account. Right. So, but if you don't follow this, I mean, Forex is not a get-rich-quick thing. It's a skill acquisition-based business. If you get the skill, you execute your trades correctly, you show up with some profit, just like every other business at the end of the month, and then you can take care of your needs.
All right, so going by his explanation now, you can make a misanalysis. Like you said, if you per se know what your monthly needs are, and then you don't make the right investment, or you overblow, so to speak. Now, as he landed, he said you blow your account. That's perhaps one of the challenges that you have when you are in this business, so to speak. Now, so what other challenges are there? That, or what other booby traps are there that one should be able to know how to skip if he eventually goes into that? Yeah.
Well, taking from what he has said, unrealistic expectation. Just as he said, you don't want to consider, it's a business, and every business requires that you attain the right skill. The right skill is needed in Forex too, so as not to do things wrongly. And apart from that, you need the right education. You must be well-grounded in the Forex education for you to be able to trade profitably and consistently too. And of course, you also you don't want to consider it as a money doubling scheme. You want to come up with the idea that maybe I come in with 10,000 and maybe in just 1 hour I want to turn it to 20,000. It's not so. It is something that you need to have a realistic expectation and then be consistent with that. So you want to have the right education, and also you want to avoid unrealistic expectation. Those are challenges for traders.
Yeah, so but we've also had cases where, people, like you said, they give their money to traders to trade for them. Is there any measure, so to speak, now, if you lose my money, what happens? If I give you my money and you lose it, what happens? How do we come to I mean, because at least if there is a regulator with the banks and all of that, we see where banks have been liquidated or, the mergers are formed. What happens in this space if some form of mismanagement of funds occurs?
Well, to begin with, Forex trading is risky because you are dealing with leverage product. Leverage product means that if you have just 10,000 naira, you can buy something worth 50,000 naira, even though you don't have that much. The advantage is that you make a lot of profit very fast if it goes in your favor. And then you equally lose a lot of money very fast from the margin that is taken from your 10,000 naira, right? Because they are leveraged. Usually, before you come into the Forex market, you have to have that at the back of your head. And then what we do, like I told you, the tripartite system, the broker has an algo that prepares a protection on investment capital. So when the expert or the fund manager is in there, he sets the protection level at around 80%. So that 80% of the capital is protected. That's a natural way to protect it, because if you expose the entire capital to the market, there is a high chance that you get blown out, right? So there is, like I said, SEC or CBN or all these people cannot come in and do these things for you. It is the broker and all of these things in ground that will help you to protect your money. That CBN have given you a certificate of financial services, or that SEC have given you any investment scheme certification does not mean that these people are, genuinely working with the broker and generating return.
Okay, so one of the things he said is, education. I mean, he's harping on the fact that you need to educate people, or brokers, or people who are interested now. Education. I mean, how do I get it? I mean, is there like maybe a site or a seminar? I don't know. How do people get educated? I mean, seminars or websites or something. I mean.
Yeah. Okay, now the thing is, there are a lot of free content everywhere, but these contents are equally dangerous. If you go to YouTube and all these other places, you watch random videos, you find that people see. That's where they get these unrealistic expectations he talked about. Because somebody comes and then says, look how I made $1 million in just one trade. And then you go home and pick up your hard-earned cash, deposit in a brokerage account, and you want to make $1 million in one trade. That's not possible. It's not feasible, as it is with most business. If I have 1 million naira put in a restaurant, I want to make around, 10%, 20%, and not double the 1 million naira capital for the business, is it not? Right. So usually, people have to take their time to learn, find a trading mentor, and then learn, right? You can go online. There are still good free content that people can access.
So it's a two-way thing.
Yes, there are, right? And then we usually offer all this
advice.
Advice and mentorship, and then you can find them anywhere. Okay, in City Forex we have a complete trading institute where people can learn from scratch to the point where they become profitable. They get what we call an expectancy. That is, if I come to you and say, Matthias, what's your expectancy? You say, I do 5% per month. I do 20. If you Google for Forex trading, what you can make by the end of each month is around 20% consistently, and the money can be taken at will. Where we have problems is greed and unrealistic expectations, right? So people can try to reach out to CD Forex and see if they can begin, from some of our free content, or at least come around to get the knowledge.
All right. Well, I hope people who are greedy just don't go get their fingers burnt in all of this. But hopefully, people who don't have jobs, I mean, because of the virus and everything, the pandemic, lost their jobs. Yeah. Hopefully, they get into this and eke out a living for themselves. But I have to say thank you for joining us today on the program, Bennett Mokocha, as well as Olufemi Oluwadare.
Thanks so much.
We'll take a break, and when we return, we'll take a look at how technology can be deployed to check the insecurity in the country. Please stay with us. Thank you for staying with us. Let's now switch lanes and take a look at the security situation in the country and how technology can be deployed to bring to an end or reduce at least to a minimal level reports of criminal activities in the country. And we're joined by Seun Awogwenle. He is a public policy analyst, a communications expert, an advocate for good governance and youth inclusion in politics. He joins us from our Lagos studio. It's a pleasure to have you today on the program show. We also have Alton. He is joining us. He is the founder of Genius Consulting, a boutique strategy and management consulting firm that serves a broad mix of private, public, and social sector institutions. He joins us from Houston, Texas, in the United States. It's a pleasure to have you on the program today, Alton.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. All right, kickstart this conversation for us. Now, we're trying to bring in, we're looking at a myriad of challenges we're having in the security sector, and we're looking at how technology can be deployed, you know, to mitigate or even bring to an end, you know, all of this. How can we do this? What can be done?
Well, I think one of the things that people need to understand about technology is actually an enabler. It's something that takes some existing infrastructure, some existing processes, and it capitalizes upon that to make people's lives easier. So when we talk about insecurity, I heard you mention about criminality and those types of elements going on. I know that brings a level of insecurity to people all over. I think one of the immediate areas where we can deal with that is in the area of agriculture and food management. And so whenever we look at technology at that level, specifically, we should look at trying to enable the on-the-ground farmers to be able to leverage what they do every single day and make it transparent to allow them to be able to access the funds that are required to expand on their existing operations. So there are definitely a lot of details around that, but just at a high level, answering your question, those are some of the immediate ways that we can look at trying to deal with the areas of insecurity within the nation.
All right, I'll come back to you in just a bit. Seun, let's get to hear from you. In your own perspective, I mean, or in your own estimation, how do you think we can do this?
Well, I mean, there is no doubt that Nigeria actually has a major security challenge. You know, from as far back as 2011, Nigeria has had to deal with insurgency, but has now graduated into not just insurgency and terrorism. You have banditry, most importantly, in the northwest of the country. I mean, funding security is very capital intensive, right? I don't think we've actually done enough with funding. We try to put in some money, but it does not equate to what you have or what you have seen globally. Nigeria needs to put more funding into security, and that takes us to the conversation that we're having about technology. There's a whole lot that Nigeria can actually do. When we hit the fight against insecurity with technology. I mean, come to think of it, you have examples of the closed circuit television, the CCTV camera. I mean, just recently, I heard LASMA they now have body cameras.
Cameras.
I mean, these are examples of advances that you've actually had. There's a whole lot that we can do aside from that. I mean, there are detecting devices that that we can adopt. You see some of these detecting devices in the bank. But we need to make it. I mean, what about what about the government ministries and parastatals and agencies? I mean, you can also you can also adopt detecting devices in some of these other areas. I mean, we also have, aside from CCTV as a surveillance mechanism, you also have the global positioning system, that's the GPS, that can also help you to locate where these bandits and these insurgents are, particularly in forests, like the governor of Kaduna was saying, they've been in Gwari and the rest of them. I mean, GPS can also help. I mean, there's also a lot that drone can do. Drone can help you to take pictures of where they are at the moment, can also help you to capture. So there's a whole lot that we can do that I do not think we are presently doing. And that also borders on the quality of the manpower. When you talk about the personnel, are they training? Are we training and retraining them? And also, most importantly, I saw something. Was it last week when we had the helicopter? There was the helicopter was reported to have been shot by by Boko Haram. I think that the social media, I think that the Nigerian military is actually not maximizing the advantage of social media and all of this as well. I mean, you are leaving the space for what's it called, the insurgents to, what's it called, to pollute the minds of the people, to continue to put fear in the minds of the people, right? And they need to take charge of the narrative. They need to, decide the narrative. So there's a whole lot that we're not doing that we're presently doing. Because when you have situations like the reports I had last week that Boko Haram, were able to shut down an helicopter, you sort of demoralize the people, even the fighting troops themselves. And come think of it, it was reported that it was a fake news, right? So you don't leave the space for them. Social media, most importantly, there's a whole lot that the military can do. You should give, people, you should report from time to time, about
your activities and your advancements.
You don't leave the gaps. You don't leave gaps. You don't leave space for, what's it called, for the terrorists to be able to, what's it called, leverage.
All right. Let me quickly come back to you, Alton. So one of the things that also has perhaps come up, as one of the things that can be done is food security. Also, which is perhaps one of the reasons why you have a lot of people falling into all of this crimes and criminality. But in that space, what can be done?
I think some of the things that can be done is that there needs to be an effort put into in empowering on the ground farmers to have the infrastructure set up to allow them to prosper and generate revenue that within itself will deal with a lot of criminality. People just don't commit acts of terrorism or acts of violations against their common brothers just out of their natural sense. People are trying to get a sense of power and control to be able to take care of the livelihood. So there being policies and there being procedures and there being infrastructure set up that will allow these farmers to better produce food, to be able to produce jobs. There's a whole value chain associated with agriculture, of which whenever those policies are set up and there's a level of transparency of the actual workers that are there in their current operations through technology to present that to banks and people within government realms, they can get the investments that they actually need to further expand employment and allow people to have their own businesses, which generates wealth, which keeps them from having to go and do things that are outside of their character. Technology helps out with all those things, but definitely there needs to be something that technology is modeling. Technology does nothing more than simulate current state business processes. So we need to get some policy set up so people can be able to take what they currently have, be enabled by base level technology, and then grow it from there. And you add on more and more technology that empowers people to have their own businesses and predict their own future.
Well, let's hope that technology is put in place for people to leverage and make use of it. But I have to say thank you, Alton Jackson, for joining us today on the program from Houston in Texas. All right. So, Sean, just in winding down this conversation, I mean, so like you heard him, deploying this, which is something that you both kind of agree on, deploying or putting all those things in place. You believe there's a lot that needs to be done, especially in funding. He believes also that, a lot of technology can be put in place for farmers, on the ground and all of that. But just as we wind down, again, looking at the farmers and all of that, what do you think, or even security, I mean, even employment as well, what do you think can be done? In that space as well,
I mean,
in 30 seconds.
It's absolutely clear that insecurity is already threatening, food sufficiency. Nigeria is, we have a problem, trying to meet our local demand, and then you have insecurity. Safety is a basic instinct. If we were both not safe, we won't be here. I mean, there's the same thing. It's actually the same situation with the farmers right there. In most especially in the northern part of Nigeria, they need to feel safe. They need to feel secure. If you do not, if you do not provide security, you cannot have activity. So, and that's a major problem because this is a time when Nigeria needs to meet its own, what's it called, local demand, and then you have a problem with insecurity, and farmers cannot go to the farm and all that. So, I mean, whatever has to be done really quickly, right? Because, I mean, our population is growing. You cannot wait. So whatever has to be done really, really quickly.
Let's hope that what needs to be done is done quickly and, all of this challenge, security challenge, and all of that, is taken out of the way so that we can have a more secure, more, food secure also country. But I would say thank you as well for joining us today and sharing your thoughts.
My pleasure.
That's the show today. Thank you for watching. I'm Victor Matthias.